Lauren Waldman has one mission: to stop us from pretending we understand the brain when we really don't. She's a learning scientist who's known for challenging assumptions and reminding us that if we're designing learning for the brain, maybe we should actually understand how the brain works. But here's what many people don't know. Before she was teaching neuroscience, she was playing piano by ear before the age of 4, singing on stages around the world, and yes, she might even break into a little hip-hop on stage. In this conversation, we explore the surprising connection between music, memory, attention, and learning. And if you've ever wondered why some moments stay with you forever while others disappear almost instantly, you're going to love this conversation. The moment is finally here. And so I'm so excited today to have Lauren Waldman on the podcast. And we've been planning this one for a little while, and I just can't wait to see what we're going to get into today. And also what we're going to learn about Lauren that I think y'all don't know. Maybe a little.
Maybe a little.
But without further ado, Lauren, welcome to the show. And could you please introduce yourself, what you do in the learning and development world, and also what your form of artistry is?
Wow. I'm so excited just to be able, we were talking about, like, let's just talk about us and our friendship and our life and our world and all the things. But for those who don't know me, my name is Lauren. I am a learning scientist. I'm also the founder of Learning Pirate, which is a wonderful, amazing company that helps all of our wonderful L&D professionals and facilitators and just anybody with a brain learn more about the brain itself and how to design and facilitate learning so that we are using these and catering to the 3 pounds of meatloaf we carry with us every single day.
Meatloaf. My favorite photo of you, you're holding one. And it's like the most rockin' photo in the world. Remember I commented on it and I was like, I just passed out looking at this photo.
I passed out looking at that photo. I think it was like the best one that has ever been taken, but it was AI. So like it was partially.
It was? Oh my gosh.
Where I'm sitting on the brain?
Commented. No, it was for a magazine. Like you look, it's the one where you're holding the brain and you're in it. You look like a total rock star in it.
I don't remember that one.
I don't think that is. No, you commented. You were like, it's my favorite photo too.
Nice.
It's great. Oh, well, tell us about your work. You're a learning scientist, Lauren, and you do a lot of, you're not one to be quiet about what we're doing. And it has drawn me. It has drawn my attention. It's actually why I'm really interested in talking to you today, because I think you don't hold back on anything. And it's incredible, actually. So tell us more about the work that you do.
So the reason I don't hold back on anything is because of the work that I do, I think. I'm like everybody else. I've been in this industry for, a couple of decades, and then the brain sort of popped into my visual field. And I was like, and what do we know as learning and development professionals about our actual operational systems and what we are designing for, what we are facilitating for, like what we are creating all this learning for? I'm like, I know nothing, like almost nothing about this. And yet I'm here responsible to help somebody else's brain change. So that sort of is where that journey started.
And it really deeply matters to you. And in the conversations that we've had, I've always been inspired about how serious you are about it. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will make comments about this as brain-based. And, I know you immediately went, wait a second. So it's not... It's interesting to me. Why do so many people make that comment, and why are they not backing it up? How can we change? I'm just jumping right to the end. Let's stop.
I mean, I feel like saying brain-based anything is, I understand the necessity for sometimes the simplicity as far as a marketing tactic, but from the science perspective, and you talk to like a cognitive neuroscientist to be like brain-based, but like everything's brain-based. It's like, well, why don't you say mouth-based eating then, or like leg-based walking? Mouth-based
that reminds
speaking.
Me of my mother-in-law is a chemist, and she's like, chemicals are everything. And so like this whole like food thing with like, there are no chemicals in this. Like, no, literally everything is a chemical. Same kind of idea.
Or energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this time that I've gotten to know you, we were recently having a meeting and you were like, yeah, I'm a musician, or I am a musical prodigy, actually. So I have people on the show that are artists. And I think that's the thing that maybe a lot of people don't know about you. Maybe people in your circle, your social circle, of course, know. But in the broader learning and development community, I'd love to talk about your art and There's also more than just being a musical prodigy. You played the piano by ear from age 4.
Yeah.
And you also dance. So can we talk a
Yeah.
little bit about these things? And also, I think there's some open mic time too. There's a lot going on here with music.
Okay, we're just going to do all of it.
We're going to go.
I think, those who know me in the industry, especially if they've come to one of the keynotes or one of the conference presentations, like they'll probably already be like, oh, we already knew that about her, because she's constantly like, there's music in my facilitation. There's like, last year I was dancing on stage. When I do sound check, I'm always singing. So I think like there are quite a few. Yeah, I sing for sound check, or I pretend like I can rap.
Okay.
It's awesome for everybody.
So like, what was your sound check sound like? We all want to hear that.
It's basically whatever comes to the top of my head. And sometimes it's like House of Pain, or it could be like Public Enemy. It depends. I never know what's going to come out of my brain in the moment.
I feel like we should do a sound check really quick. Sound check.
So it's like, pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. And, just like, is that good? Everyone, we're good, crew good. But because I integrate so much of it into my world, and like you discovered when I was little, probably before the age of 4, I was already sat down at the piano. I could, I remember my dad played, not professionally or anything like that, but we had a piano in the house. And so it was just naturally gravitating towards it. So I would tinker around, and then I could hear music on the radio or on the TV, and then go back to the piano and replicate it. So I say like my first stage, before, I was this and like presenting in front of thousands of people, but my first stage was kindergarten with like, my little kindergarten homies, like in their little circle. And there I am playing like the theme song to Sesame Street or the Muppet Show on the piano to my open audience.
It's so perfect. Yeah. I love that. It's like, when you said you sing things too, you reminded me that when my kid was little and it was time to, freshen up, the diaper situation, I would always find myself saying like from the table, please stand up. And that would lead into, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, like every time, to the point where my toddler is like dancing around to Eminem.
Yeah, there's a constant song that like is running through my head that I'll just like, or I'll make up my own. My friends know that, like, I'll sing my life as it's happening.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that was like, there was a movie like that once, like I want to say maybe Enchanted, where it's like they had to sing their, for whatever reason, they sang their life.
I love it. How will you know? Yeah. I love that. I know. I love that movie so much, actually. She's like a cartoon, and then she comes into the real world of New York City.
For me, though, it's more like, the laundry is ready, you need to fold it, I don't want to, these ballads about my life and all the daily chores.
Totally. Do you sing do you have a pet?
No, I have plants.
Okay. Do you sing to the plants? Yeah.
Probably.
I sing to my cats all the time. We have very long, drawn out songs, so it's the way it goes with all their different names. That's really cool. So did you ever go on to do anything musical at any kind of professional level or semi-professional level or anything?
No, I mean, unofficially professional. So I've been musical since I was when I was really, really young, and sort of went from like playing the piano and training in piano and classical in theory and in practice for over a decade. And then when I sort of put the piano aside, I was just like, all right, like, well, I enjoy singing as well. I think I told you, the first time that I did get up on an open mic was when I was living in Tokyo when I was younger. And then I decided from that sort of, I broke the ice on that one stage. And I was like, you know what? Every country that I travel to, or every new place that I travel to, I'm going to go into a bar with a band and see if I can get on stage and sing a song.
Oh, cool.
And that's been sort of like, it's also, fast forward years and years later doing what I do now. What I didn't realize is like I was creating so many opportunities for memory through the environment, through the country I was in, through the song I was singing, through like it all pieced together so that now sometimes 20, 25 years later, I can still remember that memory of the first song that I sang in Tokyo in a little bar with that band.
That's incredible. I was just going to ask you, like, how does this impact your work? And you just went straight there. So you were unintentionally, can you tell us more about that? What you were doing with the memory patterns?
Memory is first of all, it's an incredibly complex topic, and it's a very complex process in a human brain. But when we think about all of the elements and all the components that can possibly make up a memory, what could be a trigger to a memory later on? And for any of our instructional designers or facilitators, when you get on that stage, is how do you create some sort of cue that could later be triggered, that someone could be reminded of, like, oh wow, that was this.
Yeah.
That happened. Because sometimes all it takes is that one cue to trigger the rest of the neurons that were sort of firing while that memory was being encoded during that first moment. And sometimes all it takes is that one little trigger to bring it back. So I think about it from the lens of, I can go back into my memory bank and be like, oh wow, yeah, I was in Tokyo. Now I don't like remember specifics of whatever was I was wearing, but I remember the bar and the like walking up the 3 sets of stairs, and it was a small, like, cool room, and the stage was really small with 2 guitarists, and I sang Mr. Biggs to Be With You for some reason.
What did you sing? Of course you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally know. And so now, moving forward, everything that I do, whether even in my own personal life, like with the knowledge I have now of how my operational system works, when you know how your own brain works, you're now able to be more consciously aware of the things that you might actually want to take that extra moment while it's happening to remember, and to take that time to be more observant of the sounds or the smell or the people or the colors, whatever it is, so that I can get back to that memory later on.
Oh gosh. When you say, when you know how your own brain works, suggesting that people are all different?
Well, we've all got different, we're all wired differently, right? We've all got the same pieces in there, which is, we've got the pieces of the puzzle, but our experiences, our organizational frameworks of how we've categorized things, those are different to all of us. But as far as if someone wants to sort of go on that process of being more consciously aware of creating a memory for themselves, that can look the same. It can be, whether that's the environmental scan or just like taking that moment to sort of give, a visual representation, or just like really tap in and listen to what's going on, or whatever those cues potentially could be. Maybe I'm going to pay attention more to what I was wearing. Like, you referenced my shirt color to your lipstick. That's now become like, when I wear this shirt again, it will probably be like, I might have that memory of like, oh, Cass was like talking like that was her lipstick color, and we had that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to take note of that.
Yeah. And then when the podcast comes out and I can see it again, I'll be like, oh, that's right. So it's reinforcing. If I want to maintain that memory, it's just helping me to reinforce and strengthen that neural pathway, which will later help me recover this memory again.
I love that. Are there some categorizations of cues? Like, I'm a person who's listening to you right now, and I'm thinking, oh, what do I need to start learning to pay attention to start building out my memory bank?
I mean, cues work in different ways depending on whether or not we're like, designing for something that someone's just gonna be looking at, versus when we, this morning I taught my class on behavior and habit with my cohort. And so we're talking about cues in a different way, which is creating a habit by transitioning a behavior into a habit. So those need very distinct cues. And then the prompts.
To put context around it, like as we're describing, you have the experience in Tokyo, and I'm traveling soon, and I want to start building out my memory bank a la Lauren style. And so what should I be paying? That's what I mean for the context of those kind of things. So like, are there categories in that way? Like, there's emotion, there's sense, there's, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, emotions are part of every cognitive process, and they're definitely going to be part of like, all the memories that you've got. Where I think it starts and isn't with thinking about it as how do I create the memory first, but it's really about how do we even get to the point where something could become a memory. We have to take like 3 steps back, because first we have to pay attention to something.
Yeah.
So it's really about becoming consciously aware of like, what am I paying attention to and what am I giving my focus to, because I'm now sustaining my attention on something.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's that difference of like, if you're walking somewhere, if you're traveling and you're looking at something and it gives you some sort of a sensation, in that moment that you feel that sensation, maybe you've got this split second to decide, do I actually want to stop and appreciate this and put my focus to it for a moment? Or do I just want to keep going? Because that's going to be the gateway to start the creation of the memory.
Okay. Yeah, it's about paying attention. I mean, I'm so many things are popping into my brain right now about ways that have chosen to make that, because, the lipstick comment, for example, I might not have remembered that, but now that you remembered it and brought it up, I will as well. And so it is, the key point there is to decide to pay attention to something that maybe captures your attention. Don't let it go.
Yeah. And that's really when we're shifting from, because attention, as we all know, is very fleeting, right? And attention really is the mechanism to our ability to focus. So, if we know that focus is sustained attention, then what do we actually want to give our sustained attention to in order to focus on it? Just like that few extra moments.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And like just taking the time to think that through. Is that something that you do actively think through?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing it like at certain times, or is it in every moment? Like, do you wake up in the morning and say, what's today? Or what's your process?
I think because I have practiced this for so long, it has become a habit to me. So my conscious awareness of things is a little bit, okay, I know when I want to pay more attention, I want to focus on something.
Yeah.
And I think because I have that ability to sort of direct my attention very, very, directly when I want to. Not all the time. Like, obviously, I live in Toronto, it's a massive city. Like, there's things going on here all the time that's like vying for my attention and wants to distract me. But yeah, when I'm somewhere new, especially, I'll give you a really good example. So we were in Seattle a couple of weeks back, and I encode landscape and sort of get the lay of the land a little bit faster than some others for some reason. So we'd been there for 2-3 days already. I already knew how to get and anywhere I needed to get to in Seattle. But I'm walking around with my clients, and they're after dinner, like, oh, we want to go for ice cream. I'm like, okay, we'll go back to the ice cream place because we'd already been there before, but no one knew how to get there. And it was only it was like 2-3 blocks over. I'm like, and so I'm navigating this group like right to where we need to go. And it just, those little things showed me like, okay, so I definitely pay more conscious awareness to landmarks or street signs or something, identifying factors when I first get somewhere. Because again, in my nerdy science mind, I'm going, if I'm going to be here for a few days and I really want to capitalize on my time, then I want to reduce my cognitive load so I don't have to keep looking down at my phone or navigating. Like, I don't want to insert that much energy. So I'm going to use my own brain. And I think this is where people, because we have so many devices that can like act as our second brain, third brain, fourth brain, I just don't use them. I want to use my own brain for things like this.
It's a pretty solid tip right there, isn't it? You just don't learn if you're being constantly told what to do.
It's not passive. No,
It
we
isn't.
need
You
deep
have to use
processing.
it.
Yeah, deep processing. So I'm not saying that you should just try to like, wing it like we used to back in the day, walk around with your Lonely Planet or your photos or like a map. No, but if you've used your, like, again, I'm just going to we'll follow through on this example. If you use your phone to navigate, to get to someplace the first time and back, just try the second time not to. Just make that conscious decision that I actually want to use the strength of my own memory system.
Yeah, you're building your brain out. You're actively building your brain out.
You're using it.
Yeah, it makes me think about, where, what is that saying? Where attention goes, something happens. I can't.
Energy, where attention, energy flows. I don't know. Something about goes and flows.
Where your attention goes, energy flows, something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of like, like when I was young and I was really into like collecting vintage clothing and wearing it all. I always knew like where everything vintage was happening because it was so much a part of my life. And then as I've kind of gotten away from it, I don't know where things are happening anymore. But like where you're placing your attention, you will find it's like appearing and you'll think it's magic. Like, oh, wow, how did that just show up? Well, it didn't. You're paying attention to it, I think.
But then it's like, again, it's the difference between attention, because it can be very fleeting, right? So when do we switch over from something's just like I'm attending to something versus I'm taking the time to focus on it? So I can look at the flowers as I'm walking by my neighbors on the street, or I can notice, oh my God, that's a beautiful purple color of tulip. Oh, when I look inside the tulip, there's all of these like little speckle dots in there. I'm getting more like, I'm really now focusing on that. And that's really the difference between how I personally experience my life and how I want to experience my life, by going like, you know what? I actually want to give that my focus. So I'm going to stop right now. and just not let that moment pass me by.
Give it a little more. Don't let that moment pass me by. How do we get our learners to be like this, Lauren? What are some of your, for lack of a better word, tricks for getting learners to focus in your programs or when you're speaking?
I teach, when we teach about attention and focus, I like to remind, like, if you're a facilitator, if you're a designer, like, honestly, like, it's just a human being trying to like talk to somebody else. If you kind of think of yourself as like the Sherpa, like if I could just guide you, like just gently guide you, right? So I can guide you to something that's novel. I can guide you to a certain color. I can guide you to a certain sound, texture, motion. There's so many different senses that we can work with when we're thinking about like what we could give our attention to. But it's how are we as the designers, whether we're designing a keynote or whether a workshop or whatever it is, a sales presentation, how am I guiding somebody's attention to focus on the thing that I'd like them to focus on? So, a very simple one that I use, sometimes, we only have 45 minutes to an hour to try to tell people like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'd rather demonstrate it to you. So if I use a color cue in my presentations, typically when I'm giving a keynote, there'll be words that I want people to pay more attention to, and they're all in the same color. It's green. But then, go 45 minutes into the talk, and I could just stop and be like, hey, I've been using one color since the beginning of this presentation to sort of draw your visual attention to something. Can you guys tell me what it is? Green. They all know it. Thousands of people at one time. Green.
They may not know that they knew it though, huh? There's something interesting about stopping and asking them.
Well, I didn't ask them, that's as far as it goes, but it serves the purpose of I cued you right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
That green. So every time you saw a word that was in green, you were going to look at it. And maybe you don't remember the word yet, because obviously that's memory takes a lot longer, but you knew what the cue was. So if I ever saw you again and was in a workshop or presentation with you again, and I was using that same cue, the green, your visual center would go, okay, that's a cue for me. I need to pay attention to that.
Consistency has a lot to do with that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and consistency that works with the branding, with the messaging, and is accessible to people as well. It can't be like unknown or too out there. Huh?
I think it's a matter of, I think we've always looked at what we do from the backwards order, right? Which is like how the content really is driving everything else that we do. Where I'm thinking of it is that, no, if I'm in the business of helping somebody to change their physical brain to that, I need a tangible memory that is now I've changed the actual function, then I need to be able to retrieve that at some point. That's where I'm thinking from. How do I help somebody create a memory that is later retrievable and transferable? So I'm reverse engineering the process. Then I can talk about the content and where that all fits in.
It's very cool. How much of your musical background or your dance background play into the way that you put things together, if at all?
It does. More and more, just like the more I've sort of, when as a keynote speaker as well, like when we first start, we start very conservatively and we play the part of what we think, and then we become more comfortable with being on stage and doing all the things. And then also, if I'm quite honest, I think you just reach a point in your age life where you're like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to be who I am. Because if I'm going to work with you afterwards, you just know what you're getting right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so I love bringing in those elements, right? I love music. I love dance. I bring those into my keynotes. I bring those into facilitation. However, they're not just there for fun. They're never just there for fun. Everything serves a purpose. There's a scientific reason why I have chosen that particular song at that particular moment in this, for even the duration of the time you might hear it.
Is there a problem with having it just be for fun? No, it's just not what you're talking about.
There's no problem. Yeah, but I'm so intentional and strategic that obviously it's going to be for fun. But if I'm using that song, then there's a reason. There is 1 million
% reason. Too. I have a thing about wanting things to match and to go with it and have a purpose. I very much want that. And I want the fun. And I have to stop myself sometimes being like, how can I add the fun? It's no, we have to make this point and this strategy and this is happening. And is there a fun way to do it? That's what I love. Another way than the just, do it part. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but there is a way, but at the same time, like I think 400 people at Devlerin last year figured out that I could dance, because I was like, rocking my Adidas tracksuit on a 90s themed stage. And I'm like, all right, doing my section on memory, and everyone's just jamming along to Vanilla Ice. And, and I'm like, I'm just going to break dance now on stage.
But I was going to ask, your form of dance is what your favorite form or what you're good at?
So I would say I'm more on the hip hop breaks and house music beats. Like that's more like the street culture. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not a ballet or tap or jazz.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fun. And it's really, really fun. Have you trained in that at all? Or are you just good at it and you've just done it? Yeah.
I think it's just, I love the music so much. Like, that it just, I know how to find that beat. I think obviously being trained in piano for so long and knowing how to catch that beat, like yeah, I just love it. And even if I was a horrible dancer, I would still love, I think like the people who say that they can't dance, I'm like, you can dance. Like everybody can dance. Like you can move to a rhythm. It might not be the rhythm that everybody else is hearing, but like,
you not be like great or anything, but whatever. Yeah. I remember you keep reminding me of things. It must be something about memory talk. When I was very young, I think, what was it? Like fourth grade, fifth grade, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, I want to be a model. And so my parents sent me to modeling school. And I remember very specifically learning how to walk the runway. And they played for me when it was my turn. They played Prince, Little Red Corvette.
nice.
And I love music. I love all kinds of music. And at that time, I don't even know that I really knew, but I remember just like, oh, this is a great song, and like going down. And I remember them commenting that you need to be as natural with the music as Kassy was. And so that's my claim to fame, that I naturally could dance and move on the runway to Little Red Corvette. It's so funny.
I grew up I thought I wanted to do modeling as well, but I grew up around models.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did. When I was little too, like, around 10,
Okay.
5 to 10 years old, I grew up around fashion swimwear models, not impressionable for a little girl growing up at all. But
yeah, I know. I never grew taller than 5'6", so it was kind of out for me pretty quick. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, everything becomes a memory in some way, shape, or form.
I know. Yeah. Whenever I hear that, I do think of that moment of that person giving me that compliment. I don't remember the person, I just remember that, and it made me feel good. And that stuck with me forever, though. Like the idea that when you give somebody feedback, if you can make them feel good, they are more likely to remember that in that moment. Well, not more likely, but they'll remember if you made them feel bad. But I would rather they remember that I made them feel good. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't have that luxury, but
I know. It's something that I value when I'm with people, though, like, because people are just so nervous about failing or doing poorly. And it's like, look, everybody does poorly and we all fail, but you know what? You also did really well and you tried and you did these things right. So let's focus there. And if I can be the person who helps you get to that place, that's where I want to be.
I mean, for me, it's everything. Even, we were talking earlier about some personal stuff, and, grief and mourning and pain can be learning. And it might take a moment to get to the point where you can see that, or you can see it as an opportunity to have a moment to learn about fill in the blank, whatever that might be. But, none of the scientists I work with will ever say that learning is easy. It's not meant to be.
No, it's hard. Yeah. And of course, grief and sadness and difficult things. Sometimes I think it's really hard for people to get over them, and they need help remembering that they do great things too.
Yeah. It's the messiness sometimes of our, of the biology of the brain, neurochemistry is very powerful.
Yeah.
And it dictates our states, and, but again, are we choosing to be introspective and understand that and see if we can, learn from it and move forward? Or do we keep ourselves isolated in a place that we might not want to be in for longer than we already have been? So again, I really try, this is why, not only do I love the work that we do and like in our profession, but the immense amount of knowledge that I have acquired from my studies of the brain and studies of neuroscience, but how that has just evolved me as just a human being who understands how to be a better human being in all circumstances and how to take those things and to turn them into a moment where like I can learn from it, good or bad, which is why I share quite publicly, you know, how I navigate those hard times in life through the lens of science. So, because it just, that to me gives me comfort. It makes sense that there's not just some random thing happening, like there's true chemistry and there's biology that's happening. That is the response of, again, fill in the blank. And that could be a moment of absolute joy, like walking onto the floor of the concert to see Bruno Mars on Friday night and just like taking that moment in as the crowd, you walk through the tunnel and all of a sudden the entire stadium, you just like see 50,000 people and just turning around going, wow.
Yeah, that's incredible. Just to take that in and to be able to even restate it, because you could get lost in that moment and then not recall it, but to take it in and be able to recall it now, it's,
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
amazing. You know, I know we are kind of near the end here, but one of the things, this is a little bit of a sideways, but I think it'd be interesting for people to hear about this, because on the podcast right now, we have well, I'm going to say quotes, the learning pirate, along with the training hero. And something that Lauren and I were talking about before we started was how we both have these caricatures that started off as a creative endeavor. I know for me it did. And now it's in an interesting place where it's like, how much of that has become my identity, and how I'm managing that. And that you talked about the same thing. So if we could just take a few moments to talk about, because I said, should I introduce you as the learning pirate? And your response was,
no, learning scientist. Yeah. It was interesting. Like when I named the company originally, which is like almost 9 years ago now, I wasn't thinking that somehow I would be personified as. And I think,
can I just tell you that my business is 9 this year, and I did not intend the training hero to be me when I created her either.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
She became me.
Well, see, I didn't become it. I think it was through, like, you know, circle back to like when we first started talking, is like when I started to become more outspoken and was giving a voice to the things that I knew a lot of people were experiencing, a lot of people were thinking, and then giving a very strong voice and advocacy to the science itself. You know, we're learning and development professionals, and the majority of us have zero clue what learning actually is from the inside out. And so it became this persona, I think, that people want, like, you know, they like, oh, pirate, rebel, like associate your organizational, like, your framework, your schema. When you think of the word pirate, what does that mean? And then it was tagged on to that. And so that's, I think, where it came for me, is like people wanted to be like, oh, well, she's like she's outspoken and she's like really advocating and she's fighting for these things and all this. So like, that's where the pirate comes in. I'm like, yeah, but that's just the company name. It's a brand. It's a brand, it's a company name. There's a scientist behind all of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had to like reframe that.
No, and to continue to reframe it, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
I know for me, it came out of a story, because it was like you mentioned a schema. Like it just felt that we were, regarding virtual training and remote work and online presenting, it felt like we were like, you know, creating like acts of heroic, you know, of heroism, just to make it work. You know, it felt like such a big deal. And so the hero is just a fun moment. And I compared becoming a virtual trainer presenter to the journey of a hero, the hero's journey. And I told it within that story. And then it grew from there. So it wasn't like anything I ever intended. I'm like, she was just a regular trainer who was asked to do a thing and she didn't want to do it. But then she fought through it and overcame it. And on the other side, the elixir, you know what I mean? Here's what we found. And so here's those moments. And let me share those with you as we try to get through these times when we were all put online. And, you know, and she never was intended to be me, but then it just every time, you know, like you said, it got attached. And I do just work for myself. I don't have a team. So it makes sense. And I did lean into it in the last version of her and just say, fine, she's me. I do love her too. But increasingly, as I go towards the keynote professional speaking place, she's not on the front page anymore. She's on the training page, and I don't mind leading with her there, but she's not in the professional speaking place. And people don't exactly know my message and me in the speaking world as the training hero, which is fine by me. I kind of like that it's in both places, because to your point, it's a brand. But
But when the brand overshadows the purpose, that's where, that's where it became a problem. We walk through the conferences or see people and they're like, oh my God, you're the pirate. I'm like, no, I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
Like the pirate's here. I'm like, the scientist. So the more that I heard that there was an association, I'm like, do you even know my name? Like who I am?
I see. Yeah. So I always had a very positive reaction for mine. I'd be like, you're the hero. I'm like, no, you're the hero, like we go that way. But it's got a little bit of a different vibe with it.
Yeah. It served its purpose. Yeah.
It serves its purpose, or it did and does for me. I thought it'd be interesting for people to hear how sometimes a creative endeavor, because we are creative people with creative minds, how they play out, frankly, and how they continue to evolve and morph into different things. And then sometimes they get retired as well. So
yeah,
interesting.
That's it.
Lauren, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your messaging and your clarity and your willingness to say, hey, wait a second, you need to stop that. And it's good to hear some of your background and where it comes from and what drives you. And I appreciate you spending time with us today.
Oh, I've loved, it's not very often I get to talk about the creative side and the whimsical side of who I am just as a person and not the pirate or the scientist. So thank you. This has been awesome.
Yeah. The whimsical. I'm going to be asking you to do some breakdancing the next time I get to see you in person. I want to see
Sold. You. I'll bring my cardboard.
More of it. Where can people follow you and find out more about what's coming next from Lauren Waldman?
I share I think my platform is like LinkedIn. If you want to follow and see like what's on my mind on a regular weekly basis on LinkedIn, or, go to learningpirate.com and have a snoop around and see what I get up to and what I deliver and what I share with the world.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Lauren.
My pleasure.
That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Connect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.